Another week, another edition of 100% Canucks. Landon and I'll be joined in a few minutes by Brendan Morrison, number 7, who played more than 8 seasons with the Canucks and was part of the famous West Coast Express, along with Markus, Naslund, and Todd Bertuzzi. At the time, at the turn of the century, can't believe I'm calling it the turn of the century. At the turn of the century, they were the most prolific line, not just on the Canucks, but in my opinion, with Mark Crawford's coaching, they were the most prolific line in the National Hockey League. And in many ways, that Canucks team of 02 and the Canuck team of 03 will go down probably as the team that should have gone farther. Obviously, the Canucks in 02 lost in 6 games to Scotty Bowman's Detroit Red Wings as the Red Wings went on to win the Stanley Cup. And in 03, they lost in the second round to the Minnesota Wild in a year that ended up being an Anaheim, New Jersey Stanley Cup final with the Devils winning one more time. Brendan Morrison has an illustrious career as a Canuck. He's also got a great sidelight, and I think a few people know about it. He has become an angler, a fisherman, and has traveled the world. And you can see evidence of his work with his website, realwestcoast.com, and on YouTube, that he loves to fish. And you have to wonder if there's a comparison between fishing and hockey. There's a little more teamwork in hockey than there is fishing, but, you know, the competitive nature of an athlete, it doesn't change whether you're fighting in the corner or fighting with a fish. So that's Brendan Morrison with Landon and me today on 100% Canucks.
I won't keep you long. Darren Millard with a tip for everyone who loves great hockey podcasts like this one. John Shannon and I host the OG of 100% Hockey, coming your way multiple times a week. The guest list is the best you will find. Multiple shows a week ensures you won't miss out on any news, and we dig even deeper into the biggest stories around the NHL. Most of our guests are also friends, so I promise there'll be more conversation beyond the X's and the O's. John really does get bored with that after a while. So join us for 100% Hockey. The name says it all. Subscribe now while you enjoy thinking about it, and enjoy.
Welcome back to 100% Canucks. Landon and John, pleased to be joined by former Canuck, Brendan Morrison. Or, Brendan, let's be honest, should I say angler? Yeah. Or what should I'm not sure I could call you a hockey player anymore. You're more of a fisherman, aren't you?
More of a fisherman these days. It's actually funny, you know, when people come up and chat, you always have in the back of your mind, oh, they want to talk hockey, but it has happened a few times the last couple of years. They want to chat fishing, so it's been an interesting kind of progression into the angling world.
Does that make you happier, or like, are you more pumped to talk fishing?
It does make me happy. I love being outside, spending time in the water, so it's a good conversation to have for sure.
Okay, so we will talk about fishing, but you know, this is supposed to be a hockey podcast first.
Fair
this
enough.
is 100% Canucks, not 100% salmon. So, I got to ask you. You went to University of Michigan. Red Berenson was the coach. Were you there when Mike Legg did the first Michigan?
I was. Legger and I actually came into school at the same time, so we were the same class. And if you watch that video when he does the Michigan, I was on the ice. So we were actually on a power play at that time, and I played the point on the power play. And so when he scores that goal, it was remarkable at the time. And you can see me jumping into the pile there, rushing in from the point.
Had he practiced it? Was this all over every time Red was off the ice? He was practicing it?
You know, the funny thing is he was doing it all the time. We'd get out on the ice, you know, you do the laps around the rink, the old 500 or whatever. And he would constantly be scooping pucks, throwing them into the net. And one day, you know, Red being the kind of traditionalist, right, old school, he actually said to him, Legger, why don't you try that in a game? And we all kind of did a double take. Did he actually say that? Like, try it in a game? And lo and behold, we get into an NCAA quarterfinal game against Minnesota. We're actually down in that game, heavy favorites. and kind of just playing an average game. And Mike pulls that Michigan goal off to tie the game and gives our team a huge boost of energy, and we go on to win that game and end up winning the NCAA championship that year.
That's awesome. And then years later, you were part of the three that went back and did the intermission shoot, right?
Yeah.
And was it all three of you put it in and he still threw it in?
Yeah, that was wild. So we, the old score, right? You line up and shoot the puck. So the students at Yost Ice Arena in Michigan are pretty ruthless. But anyways, we were back at an alumni event, and myself, Marty Turco, and Mike Legg were asked to go shoot. So we go out there, and the initial shot is from center ice, right? So we all shoot, and we all miss. So we're getting, the students are heckling us, and they just start chanting, like, go back farther, go back farther. So we're like, okay, we'll go back to the opposite end to the hash marks. So Marty Turco, goaltender, he gets up there first, and he shoots, and I'm looking, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to go in. Like, he just sewered me. I got to shoot next here. So he scores, and the place is going berserk. I'm like, oh, I'd never been so nervous before trying to shoot a puck into a net. So I was up second. I shoot, and I'm looking like, ooh, this has a chance. And it goes in. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, Legger, sorry, buddy. Like, sorry. He's like, so no big deal. So he leans over, scoops the puck up, and he throws it down the ice. And we're like, there's no way. And the puck lands, it goes straight in through the hole. Like, the place went absolutely crazy. So, I know the team sent it in, I think, to a couple networks that night, and they said, there's no way this just happened. It had to be, stitched together or edited together. And they're like, no, this just happened 3 in a row. So it was pretty funny that I retired from Scoro that night.
I just
before AI, I would assume, right, Brendan?
That's what I was about to say. I'm like, that's
it was. I think it was 9 or 10 years ago.
Wow.
Was when it was. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I had never heard that story.
Wild.
Yeah, that's crazy. Say, not to the Michigan stuff fascinates me because you were at a time when you had a choice, I'm sure, to go play junior hockey and go play for Red Berenson, who I have a really soft spot for. Red, I've known Red since he was a player. And you chose to go and play for the Wolverines. What made that decision happen?
Well, before I went to Michigan, I played my junior hockey in Penticton. At the time, they were the Panthers. I mean, They've gone back to the Knights now. But Gary Davidson was my coach, GM at the time, and Gary had a great track record of moving guys on to college. And at that time, there wasn't a WHL draft for players of my age. So I was born in 75. I think the draft came in for players born in 1976 and younger. So at that time, there was just like a 50-player protection list. So I went down to the mailbox one day when I was 15 and had a letter from the Portland Winterhawks. And it just said, hey, congratulations, you've been added to our 50-player protected list. And I got a couple stickers, like, this is cool. And so they own my rights, right? They just sent me a letter and they own my rights. So
for a couple of stickers.
For a couple of stickers, yeah. It was a lot cheaper back then than these NIL deals nowadays. But, so Portland would come and see me in Penticton, and chat with me, and obviously try to convince me to come to Portland. And they had a great franchise and a very good team. Then we're competing for the Memorial Cup, but I just felt I needed a little bit of time to mature physically. I never was the biggest guy even when I played professionally, but even at that time, I think I was 150 pounds in junior, and I just needed some time to get stronger, mature a bit, and I wanted to get a degree. So that was kind of the reason why I ended up going to Michigan. And
you played 4 years. You got your degree?
I did. Yeah. Graduated with a degree in economics. So yeah.
Awesome.
And that was my era. Like the mid '90s was, fairly normal for guys to go all 4 years. I mean, the odd player would leave, but it was still pretty normal for guys to stay there in their entire 4 years.
So you're captain for the last 2 years, and they go well, but you sign out and you go to your first camp in New Jersey after being drafted in the second round. It's different. Like the junior guys would get to go to camp and have those experiences that you college guys don't get to do that. What was that first camp like? Like, you're a man and you're ready to get moving, but I'm imagining there's some question marks there still.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was an eye opener, right? And at that time, New Jersey had a great team. And looking back, a lot of Hall of Famers on that team. So Doug Gilmore, Marty Brodeur, Scott Niedermeyer, Scott Stevens, Dave Andrechuk. I mean, the list goes on and on. So they were a very good team, a lot of veterans on that team. So, I mean, it was intimidating, right? These are guys that you grew up watching on TV, admired, and now all of a sudden you are expected to go out and compete with them for a job. So it took me a little bit to kind of get used to that, but you learn quickly that it's a business, right? And it's you're not in school anymore, you're not in junior anymore. I mean, this is guys' livelihoods we're talking about. And the biggest adjustment is you go from college, or even from junior for that matter, and you hang out with everybody who's pretty much the same age. So now you go to a team where guys are 34, 35, 36. They got kids to worry about. They got schools and things like this that they're concerned about, where the kids, what activities are they doing. So the whole dynamic that way changes. But it was Jersey was a great organization to start with for me.
What was Lou Lamoriello like for you?
Well, I mean, he's known as the godfather of hockey for reasons. He ran a very tight ship, very disciplined, very structured. I think at times as a player, you might have questioned, oh man, this is, overbearing at times or a little bit too much. But I will tell you that you learn to be a professional, you learn to be a really good pro, you learn to be prepared. And when I moved away from Jersey, I really appreciated that time under Lou and what he did for not only myself, but a lot of other guys about learning the game and how to be a professional.
I'm curious, when you played in the American League team in Albany, where would Lou's tentacles reach to Albany?
He was everywhere. The joke was there was always like 8 of them. So you would walk in. We had a practice facility in West Orange, at Turtlebrook Mountain, and this is like the dingiest practice rink you could ever imagine. But they had in one end, one-way tinted glass. Every single day we skated there, you would just see a silhouette standing in the corner. He never missed anything. We'd go for pregame skates, whether we were at home or on the road. You'd go in the corner to line up for drill, and everybody would just casually kind of look around. It was like a game. Okay, where's he sitting today? And you'd see him up there, like in the furthest corner away. He nothing got past him. He was very hands-on and in tune with everything.
So you get through that first year, and what I'm curious is, like, what was the messaging going into that summer? And then you get back for your it's going to be your first full year in the NHL. And what was the messaging then? Because obviously if we move ahead 44 games or so, you end up getting traded. I imagine that wasn't what you thought was coming.
Well, that was all interesting. So we'll back up like a year. So when I graduated, when my senior year ended at Michigan, we lost out in the semifinals to BU, and Jersey wanted me to sign the next day. Mm-hmm. And we never came to an agreement. And so my entry-level contract, I literally signed the day before training camp. So, maybe didn't start off on the best foot that way. So anyways, go to camp, had a good camp, I thought, was one of the last guys cut, went to Albany. Okay, that's fine. Played the year in Albany. We had a really good year, learned a lot. Came back up, played a full season. And then, so after my rookie year, we'll call it, that was the second year of my entry-level deal. So I had to sign a new contract. And I had a decent rookie year, and throughout the season we were talking about contract, and Lou told us, listen, when we'll be fair this summer, when the time comes, we'll get it done, everything will be taken care of. So July 1st rolls around, and I think it was July 1st, and I get or it may have been the 15th, I can't remember right now exactly, but I got my qualifying offer, right, to retain my rights. And we said, okay, this is a good start. And he said, no, not a start. This is your deal. I'm like, okay, I thought you said earlier that we were going to negotiate and, everything was going to be fair. And he's like, no, this is what I have to do. So this is all I'm going to do. So I was like, what the heck? So I was like, well, I'm not signing that. So that year, again, I didn't sign before training camp started. So I said to him, well, I'll come to camp without a deal. He said, no camp, no contract, no camp. That's our policy. So now I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So funny enough.
Now, were you doing this yourself or did you have an agent?
Well, an agent, Kurt Overhart from KO
sure.
My advisor.
Yeah.
So, so Patrick Elias was in the same situation. He hadn't signed. So he's like, well, I'm going back home to the Czech Republic. And he's like, if you want to come with me, why don't you just come back there and play with me? So I'm like, well, I got to do something. So I hopped on a plane the next day and went back over to the Czech Republic. Wow. So we went and played for a month over in the Czech Republic. And then at that time, the CBA stated like if players weren't signed by like October 10th,
that's right.
If they signed after that date, they would have to clear waivers in order to, go to their team. So Lou said, well, I'm not going to sign you guys after October 10th because I'll have to put you on waivers and I'll lose you both. So we kind of got lumped together. We're in the same situation. So, I'm like, well, I can't sit out a whole year. I need to play. In the meantime, I'd been having discussions with my agent about, well, if this is how it's going to be here all the time, maybe this is not where I want to be. So we formulated this plan where, okay, if I wanted out in New Jersey, I had to ask Lou for a trade. So I fly back. I fly back from the Czech Republic, and I remember this. This is going back now to 1999, I think.
Yeah.
But I remember it crystal clear, right? This is one of these moments in my life where I still kind of get hot flashes thinking about it. So I go into the rink knowing that I'm going to sign my contract, but I'm also going to ask for a trade. So you can imagine I'm 23 years old, scared to death. I go in there, and meanwhile, contract comes out and it's just Lou and I in the room. And he's like patting me on the back, like, listen, let's put this behind us. I just feel like you're getting bad advice from your agent, and you've always been one of my favorites. Like, I really like you, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I still got to ask him for a trade. So I signed my contract, and I said, Mr. Lamoriello, I said, I don't think things this summer went the way that you said they were going to go, and I want to let you know that if you have an opportunity to trade me, I'd like you to trade me. Oh my goodness. And like I thought there was like steam coming out of his ears, right? And he's like, what? He's just kind of like, what? You're getting bad advice. Like I told you, let's put this behind us. We're family in here. Let's just move forward. So that was the beginning of the end for me in New Jersey. So I went back in there at Christmas time, asked him again. And he told me, I'll never forget this. He said, trade you. He's like, first of all, there has to be another team in the league that wants you. I crawled out of his office. And then we had another conversation, I think in January, where I was playing really well. Anyways, the trade deadline comes, and I'm actually over in New York City having lunch with my fiance at the time. And now my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law is Daryl Ray, the color commentator for the Dallas Stars. So Daryl was on the phone with a radio station in Toronto asking his opinion about trades and that. And he's about to hang up the phone. It's like 5 minutes to 3. And they said, hold on, there's a trade coming across the wire right now. And this is, like, social media wasn't what it was today. So they say, listen, the Canucks just traded Mogilny to the Devils for Morrison and Peterson. And Daryl's like, really? He's like, okay, I'll let my future brother-in-law know. So he hangs up. He's like, buddy, I think you just got traded. I'm like, what? I'm like, I haven't heard anything. So like an hour goes by after the deadline, and I finally got a phone call from Lou's secretary, Marie. Wow. And she called me and said, hey, Lou wants to talk to you. So I obviously knew what was happening, but he said, listen, I want you to come down to the rink, get your gear. I want to talk to you before you go. And he was great. He said, listen, I didn't want to do this, but I think I'm sending you home to your hometown, and we're getting obviously a great player back, and I just think that, that you didn't get great advice all along, but hey, I still like you. And so that's kind of how it ended. Yeah.
Oh, honestly, like it's crazy though. Like you telling that story, like I have a bit of nervous sweat going. Like just the thought of having to do that, especially at that age. Because even now,
man.
thinking about doing that, I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'll take whatever you got.
I still get hot flashes.
Lou, I tell you what, Lou Lamoriello's aura is one of those things that I think he's one of the kindest people I've ever been around, but he loves the image that he has created himself in those scenarios. Because a lot of those guys on that team he played for in New Jersey still will, go to the wall for Lou Lamoriello because he treated them so well.
Absolutely. Like he was first class with everything he did. And like I said, just so professional, right? I mean, there's no easy way out. I mean, it was always, everything was done the right way. And again, you appreciate how things were done.
Yeah. All right. Coming home to the Canucks, was that a dream come true?
Yeah. I mean, I was thrilled. I mean, it was, shocking at first, right? Nervous, right? Playing in your hometown, but excited as well. So a lot of emotions. And I knew Vancouver was, they had a young team. They had some turmoil there towards the end of the 90s, but the early 2000s, they were on a bit of an upswing. They had made some deals recently in the past couple of years, bringing some younger guys in. So I felt there would be an opportunity for me to kind of step in there and have a decent role.
Do you think there's pressure in being a local kid playing for the hometown team?
I think a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, it's kind of what you make of it, right? Like, the way I looked at it was, yeah, there probably was a little bit added pressure as far as managing tickets at times, friends and family. But at the end of the day, like I welcomed it and embraced it. Like, anytime you play, no matter what city you're in, you never want to go out and embarrass yourself, but maybe magnified even more when you're doing it in front of your buddies every night. So it was a motivator for me.
You come across though, and like you've just talked about the guys that were in the locker room in New Jersey, and that was like a very stable setup culture. And then you come to the Canucks and it is a bit of transition time. And like, could you feel that, even though you're only a year and a bit into your NHL career, like, could you feel that transition in the room when you first came in?
Yeah. So when I first got traded there, Messier was still there. Mm-hmm. So I played my last 11 games with Messier and like Naslund was there, Bertuzzi, Olin, Jovanovski. And we had some younger core guys there, Sopel, Cook, Schaefer, a bunch of these guys. But that first or 11 games I got there, it was almost like an awkward silence at times, just waiting to see what Mess was going to say, right? Mm-hmm. So he kind of held the power, if you will, in the room there, or the leadership role, obviously, right, based on what he had done in his career previously and that. But you could sense there was some sort of shift definitely happening. Yes, no question.
So, I was just going to say, so, you will forever be known as part of the West Coast Express, part of maybe the greatest, I would suggest the greatest line in franchise history. Is that fair, Landon, you think?
I mean, I'm biased because I moved here in 2002 and that was kind of right at your guys' peak. So, yes, I mean, definitely. You guys were like the mix of speed and skill and then the aggression on your one side there. Like, I mean, there wasn't many lines that could play like that. It was unbelievable.
I mean, you were by far the fastest team in the game, don't you think, Brendan?
Yeah, and I think like our coach has allowed us to play that way. So we were fortunate to kind of be in a situation where they almost encouraged us to go and play that style. Like we never felt like we were out of a game. It was a funny thing. Like a lot of these guys that were there at that same time were kind of, I'm not going to say cast-offs, but were guys that were traded early in their careers that I really think had something to prove, right?
Right.
Like Nazi got traded, Burke got traded, Eddie got traded there. A bunch of these young guys, Dan Cloutier got traded there. So I know a bunch of guys were kind of in the same boat and wanted to go out and prove that, hey, I belong in this league and I can have some success. But we played a style like very offensive. But we played a decent defensive game as well. But I think we were entertaining in the fact that if we were down 2 or down 3, like we could get back in a game.
When you first saw that on the lineup sheet, and maybe not when you first saw it, but after the first practice or first game or something, could you feel that there was something a little different about that line, like how it clicked, or did it take a bit?
Well, it's interesting because I know Andrew Castles was playing with those guys prior to I was, and I had a ton of respect for Cass. I learned a lot from him when I went to Vancouver. We played a similar game. Guys that were, more dishers in the middle. I was younger than Cass, probably a little quicker than him, but he had more experience than I did. And I remember exactly when we made the change. We were in Detroit, and we had gone through a little bit of a funk. And I've heard rumors about this. I don't know if our coach Mark Crawford ever talked to Red Berenson, but I'd heard a rumor that they might have had a conversation, and Red mentioned something to Crow about, hey, give him a chance. He's played with top players his whole life. Well, anyways, if that happened or not, I don't know. But I went to the rink that morning, and obviously they posted a lineup, and my name was between Bert and Nazi's. So I was like, man, this is a pretty good opportunity here tonight to go out and play with those guys. But again, just go play your game. Don't try to be Cass. Because he's such a phenomenal player. Just be yourself. But that night, I think our line ended up scoring 2 goals. And then the next game, I think we scored 3. And then we just stayed together after that. Like we had an instant chemistry. It was interesting how it just seemed to work right away.
Markus Naslund probably doesn't get enough credit outside of Vancouver for being one of the pure hockey players the NHL has seen in a long time, correct?
100% agree with you. He was a very, very underrated player, and you're right. He never got probably the credit that he deserved.
Like as a young kid, my dad finished in Atlanta and Danny Heatley was there. He could kind of shoot a puck. And for a 10-year-old, like that's who I loved watching. And I get to Vancouver and exactly what John's saying though, like watching Naslund's release, like that was something to me that wanted me to go into the garage and be like, I got to figure that out. Like, because it was the way that, you guys would grind down low, you grab that puck and you'd find him on the quick seam, and the way that it would get off his stick was, I'm like, I got to figure that out. It was just so kind of awe-inspiring because I feel like at that time there wasn't as many guys that could be that stand still alone threat of a shot.
You're right. And a lot of times it wasn't like overpowering goaltenders. It was, like you said, his release, how quick he could get it off, how he would change his angle, and just his pinpoint accuracy. Like I remember, like our power plays were very good when we were rolling there. And I think one year, both him and Bert, I think they both had 25 power play goals. But he would walk off that half wall. And as a lefty, a lot of times he would, instead of going high glove side, he'd shoot like far blocker. And I've never seen anything like it, like how he could just snipe, over a goalie's blocker on the far side as a lefty. And he was very underrated as a playmaker as well. Like he saw the ice extremely well. But yeah, he definitely, I think that, he was an NHL All-Star, right? For a couple years in a row. Probably should have won the scoring race there one year. We kind of choked in the last week of the season, both the Richard and the overall scoring race. But yeah, and just as good as a player, just a better human being, such a good person.
I've got to ask you, and not to bring up bad news here, but which was tougher, the 0-2 playoffs or the 0-3 playoffs? So you're losing 6 to Detroit. That was the famous Brian Burke speech, right? About the Sedins.
Sedin is what is the translation in Swedish for punch me in the head or something?
Jump me on the back, I think it was something. So 0-2 was, and that was when Danny, the puck bounced on Danny from Nick Lidstrom's shot, and that changed things. But then the following year, you went and played 14 games. And I think that was Minnesota that you lost to in that one. Yeah. Which was tougher?
Mini one for sure. Like we were actually down to St. Louis in round one, 3-1. We came back and won it in 7. So obviously we were feeling great about ourselves going into round 2, and we were up 3-1 on Mini, and we couldn't get it done. Obviously, we even led. I think we led 2-0 with a minute to go in the second period at home in Game 7. And I remember they scored a really fluky goal. We went to rim the puck out of the zone behind our net, and it hit like a shaft of a wild player and went up over the net, landed in front, and nobody knew where the puck was, and they basically shot it into an open net. And then they scored early in the third period on a slap shot just over the blue line. And now we tightened right up. We just and so anyways, we didn't get it done. But I think that was the year that we all kind of look back and kick ourselves that the door was open there to make a long run.
I got to come clean. I wore my dad's St. Louis jersey during that first round, and then I flipped over to you guys for the second. I'm like, okay, I got to give it here, but I jumped after. I was really curious, though. Like, you played a couple on before the lockout and then the few after. Like, you played 6 straight years of 82 games. Mm-hmm. I feel like that doesn't happen nearly as much anymore. Obviously, there has to be some luck in there because you can always take a shot off the ankle. But like, what were you doing, or how do you think you were able to stay healthy and that consistent over that long? Because it was over 7 years.
Yeah, it was a good run there. I tell people I never went into the corner, so that helped things. I think just having, as you guys know, any athlete is I think wired a little bit differently as far as you just have the mindset, no matter how you feel, you just got to play, right? So I was fortunate, I guess, in a sense that I was banged up at times, but I was always able to answer the bell for the most part. I got lucky. I didn't have anything really broken, bruises and that, sure. But definitely a little bit of luck involved. I'd like to think some of it has to do with off-ice training, right? Heading into a season and what you're doing there. I had a great trainer in Vancouver. Sean Karp was his name. Still great friends with him to this day. So he would push me in the summer, and so I felt really good and prepared when the season started. But there definitely is some luck that has to go into it.
After your time in Vancouver, what were the challenges of playing with 5 teams in 4 seasons?
Well, I thought I was going to finish my career in Vancouver at the end of my career. My last year there, 07, 08, I actually I got hurt in training camp. I got hit, and I dislocated a tendon in my wrist, and I played until Christmas with that, and it got to the point where every time I'd take a face off or try to battle with somebody, this tendon would just keep subluxing and popping out. So I had to get wrist surgery in December. So I was out almost 3 months and came back, I think played 7 games, and then we were in Colorado, and I got hit and I tore my ACL. Mm. So I think I ended up playing 39 games that year. We ended up not making the playoffs. Dave Nonis got fired. They brought in a whole new, front office staff with Mike Gillis and that. But heading into that year, that was kind of around the time when guys were starting to sign a little bit longer contracts. Right. So I thought, I go out and have a decent year, and I had a pretty good start, even though my wrist was hurt. That I could, there's a good chance I can sign a 3, 4, maybe even a 5-year deal here and just finish my career in Vancouver. That's what I'd like to do. But again, things completely changed with us not getting in the playoffs. So they did offer me a deal, but I felt it was kind of like a token deal. Kind of saw the writing on the wall. But the funny thing is Berkey, who I had there as a GM, and then Dave Nonis both went to Anaheim. So the first morning, July 1st, phone rings. It's those guys, and it's like, "Hey Mo, hey, we'd love to have you come down to Anaheim." They're like, "Listen, our first line's all set. We have Getzlaf, Perry, but we need someone who can play on our second line with Teemu Selanne." And I'm thinking, Teemu Selanne? Are you kidding me? Like, let's go. So they had offered me a longer, like a 2-year deal, but I was like, I'm going to sign a 1-year deal because I'm going to play a Teemu Selanne, and I'm going to light it up this year, and then I'm going to sign a long-term deal. Well, that didn't happen. That recovery from my ACL was a lot worse than I thought it would be. So I had a really tough year. So I went, Anaheim, and And then that year, at the end of the season, I went to Dallas, played 19 games there. And then the next season, I signed in Washington and felt really good and healthy again and had a good year in Washington. But, we won the President's Trophy, had a phenomenal year that year, but got upset by Montreal in round one. So they made changes there. So
was that Yaroslav Halak? Was that
exactly? So we chased Carey Price, and then Yaroslav Halak came in and was just like out of his mind. We'd outshoot him like 35-15 and lose 2-1, 3-2. So
now he's the one that gives you the hot flashes.
Oh gosh, that was brutal. Yeah, he's in there too in the nightmares for sure. So interesting enough, at the end of that year, I'm talking to a couple of teams, but I would skate with all the guys in Vancouver, just being from that area. So, and I didn't have a deal signed yet. So Alain Vigneault, who I played for, was still coaching, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come back to Vancouver?" I was like, "I'd love to come back to Vancouver." He's like, "Well, why don't you come to training camp then?" I'm like, and I'd been in the league now 12, 13 years. I'm like, come to training camp like without a contract. I said, that's, it kind of hurts the pride a little bit. Like you've been around. It's
starting to sound like Lou Lamoriello here. I think.
Little bit, right? So I'm like, is he joking or is he serious? Like, I'm not coming to camp without a contract. So a couple of days go by and he says to me again, "Hey, no, I want you to come. Like, I want you to be a part of this." And I was like, well, why wouldn't you just sign me to a contract? He's like, well, you're only allowed 50 pro contracts right now. We're at 49. The guys want to keep one open if something happens with a goaltender. So I'm like, I don't know, man. So I went home and I thought about it, and I talked to my agent, talked to some people. I'm like, yeah, screw it. I'll come to camp and I'll make the team. So I ended up going to camp without a contract, and I talked to Vigneault a few times about things, etc. Obviously, there's never a 100% guarantee, but anyways, halfway through camp, I get a call from Calgary, and they say, "Listen, we don't know what's going on with you in Vancouver, but if for some reason things don't work out, like we'll sign you." I'm like, "Well, I appreciate the call, but I think everything's going to be good here." So I actually had a house rented, my kids registered in school. I thought I was coming back to Vancouver.
Wow.
So had a good camp, and final day of camp was Sunday. All of a sudden, I get a call from my agent, Kurt. He's like, "You're not going to believe this, but they just called me and they said they're not going to sign you." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, because I'd been talking all along with them, and I thought it was, a foregone conclusion. But anyways, it wasn't. So I was pretty upset. It never happened. But anyways, that's the life of an athlete, right? So 5 minutes later, I was on the phone to Calgary and had a deal with Calgary done, and flew out the next morning to go join the Flames like a day before the season started. So it's kind of wild. But to answer your question, that's got long-winded. Yeah. Thinking I was going to finish my career with Vancouver, now all of a sudden I'm bing, bing, bing to all these different teams. It's kind of a wild ride.
Okay, so I'm a memorabilia guy. I hope you have sweaters from every team. That's what I want. Okay, good.
I do.
That's good. That's good. Okay, let's talk about the most important thing. Fishing.
Yeah.
You have your own YouTube stuff. You're doing lots of video. You're out there. You have become, within the fishing world, more important than you were, I hate to say, in the last few years of your hockey career. Don't you feel that?
Well, I'll take that as a compliment. That's nice.
Very, very much so.
Yeah, it's funny how it kind of evolved, because my dad's not a huge fisherman, but my grandfather was a huge outdoorsman, and my dad always says the genes skipped a generation. But I really got into it kind of as a teenager, early 20s. Like when we'd go to training camps, most of the guys would bring their golf clubs. I'd bring a fishing rod. So when camp broke, I'd go hit a river or a lake or the ocean. These guys would go golf. But probably in my mid-20s, I really fell in love with just being on the water. It's a different world on the water. And then when I finished my career, I was able to, I guess, kind of follow another passion with, creating content. And we got a show called Real West Coast that's on TV. We also have a great YouTube channel, Instagram. So it's kind of just really built this life of its own. And for me, there's just so many different places to go travel to and fish. Like the majority of our stuff is done on the west coast of Vancouver or Vancouver Island. But we've been up to Alaska. We've been to Mexico a bunch of times. We've been to Belize. We've been to Chile. We're going to head down to the Amazon next summer, or this upcoming fall possibly. So We've been to Florida. So just getting out and experiencing all these different fisheries is, I love it.
And what about the media side? You enjoy that part?
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. Like, I've always liked chatting with the media and never had an issue, always felt comfortable. It is a little bit different initially when you are hosting a show, when you just have to have dialogue a lot of times by yourself when you're not getting prompted with a question, right? So it's much easier when you're prompted. So, but that's evolved. I mean, we've been doing it 10 years now, and I feel pretty comfortable. And now it's almost like I don't even notice the camera being there. I've had the same guy, Mike Bemister, for all 10 years. We got a great relationship. So yeah, it works pretty seamless.
I'm much like your dad then, that it skipped a generation. I don't even really have a question for you other than that fish looks really cool above your head.
Oh yeah, I'll show you that real quick. So that I know I can get into.
Oh,
so geez. I was down in Costa Rica last year, and that's a mahi. They also call it a dorado, but that's a huge mahi. It's like 65. Wow. It's like a 65 fish. So. Yeah, so I got her mounted. Like, it's a replica mount. You take pictures of it and they send the mold in. So that's kind of cool.
So now, if I said, okay, Brendan, you got one place, and we're going fishing tomorrow. Don't worry about expense, and you're going to have the most fun. Where would you take me?
Oh, that's a loaded question. That's tough. No, I'm very partial to Vancouver Island and Tofino. I spend a lot of time there. A lot of different species of fish there. You have salmon, halibut, lingcod. You can fish black cod, which are sable fish. You can fish albacore tuna. So, I mean, that's got a huge area you can fish, a diverse fishery. It's got to be right up there. But it is also fun to go to a warmer climate like a Costa Rica or a Mexico and battle these big marlin and big tuna and things like that. So there's too many options.
You fish, do you fly fish as well?
I do. Yeah. Fly fish on lakes or on rivers. So I like to do it all. So I'm not just kind of, I have to do it this way or that way. It's I enjoy all different kinds, and they all kind of have their positives and negatives to it.
Is there a comparison to being a professional athlete to competing against a fish?
You wouldn't think there would be, but I think that's how my mind works with it. Like, and I try to tell myself, listen, it's not a competition. It's not like a game. It's not like you have to win every single day you're on the water. So I've evolved a little bit that way, because it was always, I gotta outsmart these fish. I need to catch this many fish, or I need to catch a fish this big or whatever. But now it's more like, okay, let's enjoy the whole process of it. Let's enjoy like the trip there. Let's take in our surroundings, right? There's all of that to it. But I still do like fighting fish and reeling them in. But for me, I explain it to people like it's pretty hard to replicate being a professional athlete or a professional hockey player, right? You come out of the locker room, you come into the rink, and there's 18, 20,000 people. It's electric. That's how you describe it. So now that adrenaline rush for me is when I see my fishing rod go off, like get a bite, like, okay, run to the rod. Like I get wired all the time. I'm like a little kid. What is it? Like, what's this? So that's kind of been my replacement.
I got to bring it back to the Canucks just for at least my last one here, because you're talking about fishing there and the differences, but you're talking about mentality and the way to look at things and dealing with different situations. Talking about the team now, when, they're obviously entering a rebuild. You were a young player in the league at one point, and you have to play a different way than you did when you were at the peak of your offense. What to you is one of the most important things of like breaking through in a tougher environment? Like, I'll give you this example. Like, I was told in the American League, you're not going to make it on the power play. You got to find a different way. I focused on the PK, and yeah, I ended up making it, but I also kind of forgot that there was offense to the game as well. Like, in that sense, how do you manage that?
Yeah, you're right. Like, there's a balance, right? Because, the majority of the guys that are playing professional hockey, let's talk about that, we're always usually their top scorers, right, on their team. You kind of have this pyramid up at the top. Well, obviously you only have a certain amount of guys that can play your top 3, top 6, play on your power play. So like you said, Landon, what else can I bring to the table that can keep me there or open the door to prove that I can do the job, whether it's penalty killing or being an energy guy or whatever. So I think it's kind of identifying what the team needs, and what you can bring, and make sure you bring that every single day. And again, don't try to be somebody you're not, right? But then there's the evolution. Okay, now that you have proven you can do this, say you're a penalty killer, what's the next step now? Well, now I want to prove that I can provide some offense at times, right? So I think this is almost like this mentality of like this you're compartmentalizing everything, right? Like, but as a young guy, it's challenging, it's difficult. There's a lot of patience involved at times, but like anything, you have to make the most of opportunities, right? And if you're not ready for your opportunities, then you might not get another chance. So how do you be ready for these things? Well, your practice habits, how you approach every day as a professional. And if you do all those things the right way, you'll be prepared when you have those opportunities.
You still like the game?
Oh, I love it. I love watching it. I'm still involved coaching my daughter. She's playing U19 hockey.
Wow.
And
awesome.
they just qualified for nationals. So that's going to take place here in Buffalo in 2 weeks. I'm helping on another team. I got asked to help on another team that's younger because they had an incident with a coach who got removed. So I'm actually helping coach on 2 different teams right now. So I still enjoy it. Like, I've always been a believer, like, if you have something to offer, then get involved, right? Be a part of it. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. I follow it. I like it. I love watching NHL. I love watching the Olympics, and it's a fantastic game.
I got to ask you, because you bring up your coaching your daughter's U19 team, and the PWHL has come in the past couple of years. I've been fortunate enough to call a couple of games this year in Vancouver. Like, what does that look like in your dressing room? Are they talking about it and talking about those women playing, and like we would have growing up talking about our NHL, guys that we loved and the stars?
They do. Like, some of these girls have almost had crossed over with some girls that are now making that jump to pro hockey. Like, they had interactions maybe within their organization when they came in as a U12, and these girls were at U19, and now they've graduated from college and they're playing. So you do hear them talk about it.
Awesome.
I think one of the big differences from girls that I notice, girls, and I don't want to,
I don't want to don't get in trouble here. Don't get in trouble.
I don't want to stereotype all of them, but they don't watch hockey, right? Like, they don't sit down like a boy, or like I did as a kid. And probably a lot of boys nowadays, they'll watch an 8-10 second clip on their phone of somebody making a great toe drag and finishing. And there's no concept of how you got to that point. It's like, I just want to toe drag and beat somebody, right? So,
yeah. I got to ask you this: when you're coaching, because I coach in the summers, and there's a couple of the girls' ice times now, and it's awesome. But the first time that I went out there, I thought no one showed up. I went out of the coach's room. I couldn't hear anything. And I look on the ice, and they're sitting in 2 circles, sitting on one knee, and they're just talking. And so I go out. I'm like, is everything okay? And they're like, yeah, we're just waiting for practice to start. Like, us meatheads, the pucks would be out there flying all over the place. Like, they listen, they're intent. Like, it's so much fun. It was the first time I've got to be around it. And, like, the energy and excitement to learn, it's really, really cool to be around that energy.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, the one thing with girls, though, I find they take everything so literal, right? So if you tell them, okay, girls, we're going to run a face-off play here. If we win the draw, we want to go D to D behind the net, and we'll go out the weak side. Okay, we got it. Well, say their inside winger jumps that play, they'll still make the pass. You're like, what were we thinking there? Well, you told us to go D to D and break out. Yeah, but you got to like, just don't do exactly what we tell you. So it's pretty funny that way. We always joke around like, hey guys, you guys got to think outside the box sometimes. But they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun.
Is your daughter American or Canadian?
She has dual. Yeah, she was born in all my kids were born in Canada, in Vancouver.
Okay. But, we need to rebuild our women's Canadian program. Brendan, we can't be second very much longer.
I know, and those girls played a great game too, man. They played the game of their life. I thought they had that, but I also thought the men had it. But hey, that's why you play the game, right?
Exactly. But listen, thanks for this. This has been a blast.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys reaching out and chatting. I always love talking hockey, and you guys are doing a great job. So thank you very much.
Hey, so plug your YouTube and your TV on your fishing show one more time.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so the fishing show is called Real West Coast, REEL, and we have a YouTube channel, so Real West Coast and .com and Instagram as well. So if you check us out, that would and subscribe to our channel, we'd greatly appreciate it.
As I remind people, fish don't talk back, so it's a lot more fun sometimes.
There you go. Valid point.
Brendan Morrison, thank you very much. Landon and I'll be back on this edition of 100% Canucks.
All right, listen up. Today I want to talk about giving 110%. Giving 100% means giving everything you got. Giving 110% means giving 10% more than is humanly possible. If we're going to win as a team, we need 100% of you guys giving 110% 100% of the time. If only 50% of you guys give 110% and 50% of you guys give 100%, I guarantee you 100%, we'd only win 50% of our games. Suppose 75% of the 110% gave only 50%, and 50% of the 100% gave 25%, and 75% of the 110% were not feeling 100%, then we'd be in a heap of trouble. That's why we need 100% of you guys giving 110% 100% of the time. Okay. Let's go out and play some hockey.
Welcome back to 100% Canucks. So, Landon, are you going to take up fishing now, or any chance?
I believe that I'll go fishing. Well, I'll probably take my kid when he gets a bit older to at least pretend that I tried to get him outdoors. Yeah. I will go one time. I'm planning to take my brother to one of the Unreal fishing lodges when he turns 40 in a couple of years. He's a hunter, fisherman, all of that.
Oh, good.
I'll go on the boat. I'll cast one, but I'll be more sitting, making sure that everyone's got a drink and it's got a smile on. That'll be my job.
Closest thing to fishing for me is going to Long John Silver's. So that's.
And I'm the big fan of, my brother can go fishing. I'll eat the fish. You go hunting. I'll eat the venison. Perfect.
Yeah. Although I tell you what, he's not alone. There's a few guys that I've known over the years that when the guys at camp have their golf clubs, there's a guy that's got a fishing rod. Somebody's got a fishing rod and wants to go fishing. So, you look at other cities, a guy like Connor Hellebuck. Yeah. If he has a chance on an off day in Winnipeg to go ice fishing, he'll go ice fishing. So,
and that's great for them. I'd be in the group walking to the golf course with a big smile, waving, saying, "I hope you have a fabulous day."
Yeah. So the Senators in town on Monday night. 2-0 victory for Ottawa. I'd like to tell you that it was closer than it was, but the Canucks just didn't have enough chances. They just didn't create enough offense. Is that fair?
Oh, that's fair. I would say though, like over the last few games here, like the effort and push to find some offense or just to find some pushback in the game has been much better. Did it go successfully last night? No, but at the same time, like there was a lot more push into it. They held a little bit better. I liked that. If you're looking at some individuals, like we saw Bouillon start carrying the puck a bit more and making some moves. And so again, like at this point, we could sit here and talk about the game and debate their chances and all this stuff. But like realistically for me, I'm looking at the individuals, and that's really what's more important right now. And Bouillon getting the bubble off and getting his feet moving again, trying to create some offense, even though it didn't create much. Great. I want to see him take it on. I want to see Ogren putting his shoulder down and trying to drive. Carlson, I thought it was great. He was mixing it up a little bit more. He's finding a little bit more backbone because when you do have a bit of success in front of the net, the other teams see that. All of a sudden, you take an extra cross check. You get the extra push. You got to push back a little.
I think that's the key thing in all of this. And anybody we talked to, even Jim Rutherford, who was on our other show, said we're going to be 32nd. We are going to be 32nd. That's a fact of life, and we're going to have the best chance to win the lottery. We may not get number 1 overall, but we know we're not going to be lower than 3. And so there's, that's a cup half full mentality that you have to have at this point. But your discussion about some of the young guys, that's really where this team is going and what has to happen. Wilander has to have a chance to play 21, 22 minutes. Bouillon has to play that amount of time. Carlson, even guys like Ratu have to be there. And the guy I marvel at, and is Philip Roenick. He's playing like it's the third game of the Olympics still, and he's working his tail off.
Yeah, like he's done a really good job of understanding what's needed right now, and as much as he wants to show that he can handle this on his own, because for a bunch of years there, everyone just said he was only good because Quinn Hughes was on the other side of him, and he's showing right now that, yes, just like every other D in the league, yeah, he's probably going to be better if Quinn Hughes is on the other side. But he's also a very capable defenseman that can shoulder a big load. He's not the most talkative guys when he's out and about, but you talk to players on the Canucks about him when it's the guys and they're in the room, and like he's vocal. He's someone that guys follow. Like that's really important to have, and you need that. But again, for the young guys, like I've talked about it a decent amount over the past week or two about, I asked Morrison about it as well. Like, you play one way trying to get into the league, and it's a different situation because there's a lot of opportunity in Vancouver right now. But you're still thinking, how do I stay in the lineup? How do I survive? I'm trying to stay in it. But you need to have offense. You need to show what you can do, especially right now. So for me, it's about like creating some fun for the young guys as well, but doing it in a way of like creating some mini games or something like that, like giving them some real short-term goals that they can focus on. So if, using Bouillon as an example, if he goes -2 and they lose 5-1, he's not sitting there looking at the stat sheet saying, I was terrible tonight. Because the management might be looking at it and be like, yeah, you're out for 2 goals, but you made a lot of really good plays that we're happy about. Like, that kid has done nothing but win. You got to make sure that he has some wins while losing a lot. And
I'll tell you what, that's going to be a challenge between
really
now
is.
and the 15th of April. I should add Elias Pettersson too, who on Monday night against Ottawa I thought was really trying to show how physical he can be, which is a really positive situation, right?
Yeah, and John, like when you say for DPD, like the physicality is what makes his game. When the more physical he is, not if he's trying to run around everywhere, but when he's engaged on that sense, the rest of his game really starts to follow through.
Well, there are 7 more games on this homestand. Nashville and Seattle are the next 2 games, Thursday and Saturday. So it would be interesting to see how this team that seems to work hard and seems to create the perception of working hard, but doesn't necessarily get the results. And like Brendan Morrison talked about, when he's fishing, you have to be patient. I think that there's going to have to be a lot of patience on the ice, off the ice, in the stands when it comes to this version of the Vancouver Canucks at this point.
I think you're 100% correct on that.
Well, that's why we call the show 100%.
See that? Hey, I'm learning this media stuff. I really filled that in there.
Yeah, very good. Just remember, every time you hear the word 100%, that's a marketing opportunity. So
there you go. I'll be in the ball. I'll be walking past a conversation they say, and I just yell Canucks into their circle.
That's right. There it is. We don't have any money, but that's the marketing campaign right there. Thanks for this, Landon.
Yep.
And thank you for listening and watching this edition of 100% Canucks.